Hello friends, welcome back to the Python programming session. In today's session, let's cover the most important widget in Tkinter, and it is the check button widget in Tkinter. We have seen check buttons in many of the GUI applications. So what is this check button? The check button widget is used to display a number of options to the user. So when user has to select one or more options from the displayed list of options, then we go in for the check button widget. So it displays a number of options to the user. User can select one or more options by clicking the button corresponding to the option. If the button is selected, the on value is being considered, and if the button is not selected, then the off value gets considered. The syntax for this is a variable which holds the check button, and the check button function C is in capital, B is in small, and then it is placed in the main window and it has got many options underneath it. Some of the important options are command, on value, off value, and variable. What is the command parameter? So it is associated with a function. Whenever we change the state of the check button, that is when we check in the check button or deselect the check button, it calls the function associated with the command parameter. What is the on value? When the check button is checked on, whatever value we have specified in the on value parameter will be passed to the variable. What is the off value? Whenever the check button is checked off, then the off value, whatever value is present in the off value, is being passed to the variable. And what is the variable? It's a Tkinter variable which tracks the state of the check button. By default, if we don't specify any value in on value, it will consider 1 by default. And if we don't specify any value in the off value parameter, it will consider 0 as the default value. Now let's see with the help of an example as to how the check button works in Tkinter. I've written the code. I will run the code. Later on, I'll write it once again. So when I run this particular code, I get select programming languages you like. And these are the check buttons. C, C++, Java, Python are the check buttons. And we can, when I check in C, on the console, you selected C programming language. When I check in C++, I get you selected C++ programming language. Now if I deselect it, it will say you deselected C++ programming language. When I select two of the programming language and click on the submit button, it won't display anything. But when I select all the programming languages and when I click on the submit button, I get a message saying congrats, you like all programming languages. So these are the check buttons. C, C++, Java, Python are the check buttons. Submit is the button widget and select programming languages you like is a label widget. So now let's code and see how it works in Tkinter. Initially from Tkinter I am importing star. Main window is win is my main window. Then let me create my label widget called label1 equal to label. Place it in the main window. Text for this is equal to select programming languages you like. So this is the text and I'm having it in the foreground color equal to blue because the text is in blue color. I want it in blue color. So I'm giving foreground color as blue and let it be of a higher font size. So let us make it as equal to Arial and font size as 30. So this is my label widget. Now let me pack it onto my screen by saying label1.pack. Okay, so we have created the label widget. If I run this demo, select programming languages you like is our label widget. Now let's create the check buttons. C1 equal to check button widget. So the function is check button. The class is check button. It is placed in the main window. Placed in the main window. Text for this particular check button is equal to C. So we have to give it as in quotes. I have to specify it as C. Font for this particular text is equal to Arial. And the size is 10. Font size is 10. And the variable with which it is associated is nothing but var1. Var1 is a Tkinter variable. And onvalue, let me give it as 1. Offvalue, let me give it as 0. If I don't specify also it's fine, because by default it will take onvalue as 1 and offvalue as 0. And the command which it has to execute when I change the state of the check button is check1. So this is the function which it executes whenever we change the state of the check button, whether when we check in or check off, it calls this particular function. Since I want 4 check buttons, I have to write 4 check button. I have to create 4 check buttons. The first one I have created over here. Let me copy it. Another 3 I've copied it. So the second one is check C2 check button. Text on it is C++. Font is same. Variable is variable2. So all the variables will be different. First one it is var1. Second one is var2. On value, off value will be the same. And it will call the function check2. Similarly, for the third one, it will call the function check3. For the fourth check button, it will call check4. And variable will be var3 for the third one. And for the fourth one, it will be var4. And the text on this will be Java. For the last one, it will be Python. And these check buttons will be C3 and C4. So friends, we have created the 4 check buttons. Now we have to pack it onto the screen with the help of the pack method. C2.pack, C3.pack and C4.pack. So I have packed it onto the screen. Next I have to create my submit button. So button 1 equal to button widget. Place it on the main window. Text on it is equal to submit. Command equal to show. Show is the function which it calls. Button 1 dot pack. I have to pack it onto the screen. Then I have to create my main event loop, that is win dot main loop. Now we have created the layout for the label, check button and button widgets. Now we have to define the functions. So the first one is def check1. And one more thing, all these variables, that is var1, var2, var3, var4 are Tkinter variables. So we have to give var1 is equal to, it is an integer variable, so I have to give int var. Similarly, var2 is equal to int var3 is equal to int var4 is equal to int var. So these are the Tkinter variables, so we have to define them. And check 1, I have to write the functionality. So if var1 dot get, so if it is true, if true, then I'll say print you selected C programming language, else if it is false, print you deselected C programming language. So this is the statement. When will var1 dot get be true? When it is having a value 1. When will it have a value 1? When we check in, var1 will get the value stored in onValue. So when we check in, whatever value is present in onValue will be passed to var1. Since 1 is present, var1 will have 1 when it is checked in. And when we check off, the off value gets passed to var1. So here we are checking if it is 1, you have to print you selected C programming language. If it is 0, then you can say you deselected C programming language. So this was for check 1 function. Now let's write the function for check 2. So for check 2, we have to check for var2 because it has a different variable called var2. You selected C++ programming language, deselected C++. Then for check 3, I'll check for var3. You selected Java programming language, deselected Java programming language. Then I'm having check 4. Then it is var4. You selected Python programming language, deselected Python programming language. So we have written the function check 1, check 2, check 3, check 4. So we get you selected C, C++, Java, Python programming languages. Now when we check all the programming language, then a message should say, congrats, you like all programming languages. That function is the show function when I click on the submit button. So def show, this is the function, and what should it check? If var1 dot get and var2 dot get and var3 dot get and var4 dot get, if all are true, all are on, means we have checked on all the check buttons, then this condition gets satisfied. Then I'll print the message, print congrats, you like all programming languages. So this is the code for this for the output which we saw earlier. Now let's execute. Let me close my previous screen. Now let me run this particular code which I have written just now. Int var. I made a mistake there. N should be in small. Now let me run it. Let me close it. Now let me run it. So I get this particular output. Select programming languages you like: C, C++, Java, Python, and a submit button. Now let me minimize it. Now if I click on C, I get a message: you selected C programming language. If I deselect it, I get you deselected C programming language. Now if I select again, it will say you selected C programming language. If I select C++, it will say you selected C++ programming language. Now if I submit, it won't display any message. But if I select Java and as well as Python and then click on the submit button, it will give a message: congrats, you like all programming languages, because I have checked in all the languages. So now if I submit, it says congrats, you like all programming languages. So friends, hope so it was clear for you. So we have a variable called int var, that is a Tkinter variable, which is var1, var2, var3, var4, and it will take on value if we check in the check button, and it will take off value if we deselect the check button. So initially we had a label widget, 4 check buttons, packed it onto the screen. Then I had my button widget, packed it onto the screen. And the variables, whatever we had for the check buttons, are nothing but the Tkinter variables. And when we change the state of the check button, that is when we check in or check out or check off, then it calls the function check1, check2, check3, check4 for 4 different check buttons. For the first one, it will say you selected C programming language. Check off, it says deselected. Similarly for C++, Java, and Python. And if I select all the programming languages and click on the submit button, it will check, it will call the function show, and it will check if all the variables are 1. If all the variables are 1, that is var1, var2, var3, var4, all are 1, then it say congrats, you like all programming languages. Hope so friends, it was clear for you. The check button is used to display a number of options to the user, and user can select one or more options by clicking the button corresponding to each option. And the important parameters are command parameter, on value, off value, and variable. Hope so friends, it was clear for you. If you have any doubts, please do reach to me out in the comment section. If you like my video, click on the like button, and please do subscribe to get notifications of my new videos. Till then, see you. Bye bye.